So the second chapter we're going to do this year, ratios. Now I know you've talked about these before. It's how one amount compares to another amount. Exercise 1 says a large fruit basket contains 21 apples and 14 oranges. A. What is the ratio of apples to oranges in simplest form? Use a fraction to help think about this problem. So we want to know apples to oranges. So if I'm going to write this ratio as a fraction, if it's apples first, then oranges, the number of apples, 21, goes in first on top, and then the 14 oranges go on the bottom. Now it says use a fraction to help think about this problem. So we have to simplify this fraction. So we have 21 ABC 14. Now that gives us 1.5. So we're going to talk about something we did review and is old material anyway. The calculator gives it to us as a mixed number. Now I'm going to show you how to do it on the calculator, and I'm going to show you how to do it out by hand again. I need to have it as a ratio, just one thing to another, apples to oranges. So I can't leave it as a mixed number. Now by hand, you multiply the whole number, the big number, by the denominator, the bottom. 1 times 2 is 2. Then we add the 3, we add the 1 to get 3. So that's 3 over 2. Now on the calculator, you can do that. Above the ABC button in a light blue shade, it says ABC to D over E. What that does, if you hit second, then that button, it will change it, then hit enter, to an improper fraction. Oops. So again, that is, after I simplify it, if I have a mixed number, if I want my calculator to change 1 1/2 to 3/2 for me, second, the ABC button, hit enter, 3/2. It'll do it for you. Or if you remember, you multiply the whole number by the denominator, the bottom. 1 times 2 is 2. Add the 1 on top, 3. Keep the 2. Now, I suppose also as well, if you're good with your times tables, you might know you could just divide these both by 7. 21 divided by 7 is 3. 14 divided by 7 is 2. And go right that way. But anyway, a smaller fruit basket, B, has the same ratio of apples to oranges as the large fruit basket. Meaning the amounts compare the same. If it has 10 oranges in it, how many apples does it have? So we have a ratio of apples over oranges, and that's 3 to 2. Now, if we are interested in 10 oranges, oranges are on the bottom of the fraction, bottom of the ratio. So we'll put that here. And we want to know how many apples. We're looking for the number of apples, the number on top. This time I'll use a question mark for it. So what we need to know is when we multiply, how could I turn a 2 into a 10 by multiplying? Now, if you're good with your times tables, maybe you just know, hey, 2 times 5 is 10. But if you don't know that, then to figure out what we would multiply 2 by to get 10? We'll divide. We'll go backwards. The opposite of times is divide. 10 divided by 2 is 5. So we know that when we went from 2 to 10, we times by 5. So if I want to figure out how many apples there would be, I'll just multiply by 5 as well on the top for the 3. 3 times 5, 15. So 15 apples. And then it talks about what we just did here. We can scale ratios up or down depending on need by multiplying and dividing. This is why the use of fractions to represent ratios is so common. Exercise 2. The ratio of cats to dogs at a pet shelter is 5 to 2. This is another way to write a ratio with a colon. Answer the following questions. For every blank dogs, all right, let's look. Cats come first, then dogs. So it's cats, then dogs. So let's see. For every blank dogs, 2. There are blank cats, 5. If there are 12 dogs, then how many cats are there? Show or explain how you arrived at your answer. Let's use a fraction again. 5 to 2. So we got cats over dogs. 5 cats for 2 dogs. We want to scale this up. If there are 12 dogs, 12 dogs. Well, we look, hey, dogs are on the bottom here. Now, we're looking for cats. Okay, maybe this time I'll use a C to represent cats. So C for cats here. Now, again, we got to figure out what do you multiply 2 by to get 12. If you just know what that is, great. If you don't, we got to figure out how we got from 2 to 12. So we're going to go backwards. The opposite of multiply is divide. So let's see. We'll start with a 12 and we'll go back. Divide by 2. 6. So what that means, 2 times 6 is 12. And like I said, you don't have to do this division here if you just knew that already. Well, if the bottom of the ratio gets multiplied by 6, that's what we got to do to the top. 5 times 6, 30 cats. C, we use C for cats. We're using a variable here instead of a question mark like up there. So you could write it like this. C equals 30. You could write 30 cats. Either one of those would be fine. C, if there are 45 cats at the shelter, how many dogs are there? Well, okay. So forget the 12 thing. Now we're imagining this over again. So we got cats over dogs. 5 to 2. 45 cats. So be careful. This time we know the top number. And we'll use D for dogs. We're using a variable to represent a number that we are trying to find. So we have to think. How do I get from 5 to 45 by multiplication? You know what that is? Great. You don't, I'll give you a second here. Maybe think, what would I do to go backwards to figure out what I would have multiplied by? So what you do, if you want to go backwards to see how we got from 5 to 45, again, we want to divide. 45, where it ended, by where it began. So we multiplied by 9. Now, if you just knew 9 times 5 is 45, you don't have to do that division. So we'll multiply 2 by 9 on the bottom. 2 times 9, 18. Again, you can write D equals 18. We said D represents the number of dogs. You could write 18 dogs if you wanted to. D, given this ratio, explain why could there not, why couldn't we have 7 dogs if we were working at this ratio? So again, let's stick with our cats over dogs theme here. 5 over 2. This time, maybe you don't know in your head what you would multiply 2 by to get 7. So let's check it out. Let's go backwards. Divide again. We're going backwards. I'll leave it over here for this one. 3.5. You multiply 2 by 3.5 to get 7. Well, let's check it out. Multiply 5 by 3.5. 17.5. Ooh, that's a problem there. I wrote that question mark this time because that's a problem. We couldn't have 7 dogs in this ratio because if there were 7 dogs, there'd have to be 17 and a half cats. Can't have half of an animal. That wouldn't work. Now, the back talks about something that you've talked about before. Let me see if I can get this to not flash. Hey, there we go. A unit rate. A closely related idea to ratios is that of the unit rate, which we have discussed before. Like I said, you've talked about this before. The unit rate can be produced from any ratio by simply dividing the two quantities in the ratio. So unit rate, like it says right here, divide to find a unit rate. We're going to divide. A unit rate is a ratio where the amount of one quantity is given per single unit. Single means one. So a unit rate, you also think for unit rates, it's per one. Per one. If you've ever been with your parents or anyone that's getting gas, that's what you see on the gas pump. Like $3.67 per gallon, per 1 gallon of gasoline. And again, it just repeats. We find a unit rate by dividing. Okay, here we go. Exercise 3. Cake recipe calls for 4 cups flour to 2 cups of sugar. Express the unit rate of cups of flour per cups of sugar. So flour per sugar. So flour first on top, sugar on the bottom. So we have to divide, and remember, a fraction is top divided by bottom. So we have to divide the flour by the sugar. That's what this means. So we have 4 divided by 2. 4 divided by 2, I'll let you type that in if you need to. That is 2. 2 cups flour per 1 cup sugar. That is the unit rate. Now on B, express the unit rate of cups of sugar per cups of flour. Okay, this one's backwards. So we're going to do the sugar on top, 2, and the flour on bottom, 4. Now, we just said a fraction means divide, and we said that a lot this year. So I'm just going to write 2 divided by 4, 0.5. So that's 0.5. That's a half cup of sugar to 1 cup flour. And I'm abbreviating there since I'm running out of room. Because unit rates are produced using division, it is often the case that they are decimal in nature. You get a lot of decimals. Not everything's going to work out to be a whole number, is all that's trying to say. A person is walking at a rate of 9 feet every 4 seconds. Find their speed, i.e., for example, the unit rate of the distance they travel per second. Distance per second. So that would be 9 feet in 4 seconds. Nine divided by 4. There we go. Now you should be able to see it. 2.25. So that's 2.25 feet per second. Just like miles per hour, like you'd see on a car. All right. Given the rate in A, how far would this person travel in 14 seconds? Now, I just wrote feet per second here, but don't forget, that means 1 second. So if I want to see how far we could go in 14 seconds, we want to go from 1 to 14. Well, 1 times anything is just that anything. So this must have been times 14. So I'll multiply the top by 14. $31.5 feet. The difference is here, you can walk half of a foot. So a half is okay on this one. Now I wrote this all out. But if you know a unit rate, all you really got to do to use the unit rate is just multiply. Like on 5 here, Kirk is reading a book and found that after 5 days he has read 180 pages. At what rate is Kirk reading the book in units of pages per day? So we want to know the unit rate, pages per day, per 1 day. Pages first, so the 180 pages has to go on top, over 5 days. Now we want to find this per 1. To find a unit rate, we divide. So we're going to divide the top by the bottom. That's what a fraction means. The 180 divided by 5, 36. So that would be 36 pages per 1 day, or just 36 pages per day. Now on B, it says if the book is 765 pages long, how many days will it take him to read the book at the rate that we found in part A? All right. Now, on 4, we found the rate, and like I said, you just multiply. If we want to find the number of pages, though, if we know the The number of pages, though, on the bottom, see, we already will know the top this time. 180 pages per 5 days. Now we want to go from 180 to 765 pages. And we're looking for the number of days. So when we use a rate, we want to multiply, but we got to figure out what we need to multiply by. So again, to work backwards to figure out what we multiply by, you got to type the 7 in. 765 divided by 180, just like we've been doing. If I need to figure out what to multiply by, you work backwards with division. We're going to multiply 5 days. 5 days times the 4.25, 21.25 days.